Good evening. This is that one guy broadcasting from sunny Holland. Today I'm going to be talking about prototyping on Kerbal. And this is obviously prototyping for surface bases. Now, I've imported a couple of craft from my other file, my personal file, and I'm going to go over. Oop, I wanted that to come off. There we go. We're going to go ahead and clear the launch pad and proceed. Now, I'm going to run you through sort of what I'm looking at here. This is an electronic unmanned rover. It's got a OKTO command pod version 2 in here. And it's just got a docking port on top. And one thing that I have found as far as cracking this particular design nut is the need for your docking ports to be on the bottom of your modules, like so. So the docking port from which I'm going to move this whole thing is right here. So let's go ahead and let's call this Mesa Hub. Holy crap, caps lock. Mesa Hub demo. That way I don't have to launch a second version of this. Now, when it lands on the MUN, it's going to land like this. So let's go over to here. Oh, that's right. And you want to prototype all of your modules on Kerbal, as your bases can be put anywhere once you figure out how to build them. You can put them on Duna, you can put them on Eve if you're nuts. So here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to set that docking port as my target, and I'm going to control from the top docking port here. Now, there we go. I'm starting to get some magnetic tug, and okay. Now it's just a matter of, there we go, lining it up close enough. Switch craft back to your module and retract the landing gear. Excellent. Now we should be... I don't think that was a good seal. If this happens to you, just... there we are. Good seal happened when we brought our legs up. So now we are... sorry about that. Hold on one second. There we go. Now we need to take this to where we're going to start constructing our base. Okay, we need to slow down just a little bit because of that hill. Now, one thing, when you're carrying your pieces, I prefer to not go over 5 meters a second, as I like having a stable craft. Now, we're off to the side here a bit, so I think this is as good a place as any to build the base. We're going to hit G, raise that up, undock the car, drive it out, and stop it. Next, we're going to go back to the Space Center. We're going to launch another Mesa demo. And we're going to hit G. There we are. Now we're going to come over to the car. And we're going to come up and pick up this next part of the station. Or base, whatever you decide to call it. Mine, in my personal save file, is called the Mesa Base, and it looks a little something like this. Now, I'm... Now, I forgot to set this as my target, but it doesn't matter because I've got these close enough. There it is. Sometimes you can just go underneath, and it docks up. Now, we need to control from a docking port, retract our gear so that we are resting on the crane itself, and begin our movement towards our other base piece. Now, what I highly recommend is launching your hub first. Don't start off with any sides or anything like that. Just launch what you're going to build off of. And as with complex orbital construction, I highly recommend having a plan going in. Otherwise, these bases can just, consume a bunch of resources, time, flights, and they'll just end up as the project that never ends. Now, why am I testing all of this on Kerbal? Well, because once you figure out how to get these bases put together on Kerbal, that is probably the highest gravity you're going to personally encounter in this solar system. Because I have yet to see the merits of an Eve base or even an Eve manned landing. That place is just, I'm not a big fan. So now what we're doing is we're lining up our modules, and once we have them fairly lined up, didn't mean to do that. Once we have them touching, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower this landing strut and this landing strut, because my design dictates that I must. Looks like I'm a little bit far off, so let's raise that landing strut and this landing strut, because I'm not quite in line with the whole base right now. Okay. Raise. Now I'm gonna go ahead and come back and try this again at a slightly better angle. Here we go. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to run in. Oh, didn't mean to do that. We're going to run into this base, and we're going to lower these landing legs so that we can pop up and hopefully get a hard dock out of this. Nope, not so much. I guess we did not get a hard dock out of it. How much are we off by? Yep. For whatever reason, we were not able to dock. Oh, wait. What is this? Oh, nope, we did get a hard dock out of it. Sometimes you just have to fiddle with the legs a bit. Now, make sure that all your legs are on the ground. Undock your car. Drive it out into the sunlight so that it may recharge. And there we go. Just prove that you can do it on Kerbal. No need to really go into any further testing than that for this series. Let's see here. But as you see, I can get onto this docking port. I could just have easily gotten onto that docking port. So yeah, that's the basic gist of our surface bases. So, let's go back to the Space Center. And we can go ahead and end those flights. Now, let's see here. Where do we want to put our base? Let's focus on the Mun. Let's focus on the Mun. We're going to want our base to be facing Kerbal. That way we will be in direct radio contact the whole time. While it would be cool to have a crater base out here, there would be no possible way for us to communicate with the ground. So what I'm thinking is let's go ahead and put one right about in the center of this crater. Cool. Now, let's go ahead and think of a design. Okay, I've got my design. It's going to be a very simple, just can Kerbals live in space sort of base. It's going to have a hub, 2 power plants, and a habitation place and a comms node. It's going to be just a pretty simple base, but it involves a few flights. So, first thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to launch our crane. Ha, proceed anyways. Do not care. Alright. You should recognize this rocket setup. It's a basic one-way mooner craft. I've got my crane right there. And I've got a space crane. Sky crane, that's what it's called. Oh, goodness, I'm a little bit derpy. It's set up so that you'll be able to get out to the Mun. So I'm just going to go ahead and film that, speed up, and then when I'm starting to make my descent, I will clue you back in. A little pre-flight, and here we go in 3, 2, 1. Alright, and we are just about ready to make our final descent. Our orbit is put us almost over my desired landing zone, which is right in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves on a suborbital trajectory. Alright, here we go. There we are. Now, we're going to need to point to heading 180, as I would like to move my... Oh, let's see here. I'd like to move south a bit. Alright, here we go. 180. Let's do this. Moving south, and as long as we're overshooting our landing zone, we are fine. And there we go. That's that. Now let's go out of map view and return ourselves to this normal orbital view. Now let's see here. We are... There we are. Now the reason I orbited the Mun 3 times was because I was waiting for my LZ to come into the sunlight. So now what we're going to do is once we pass over... Oh boy, let's see, where's the center of the crater? I'd say right about now is when I'd like to start the burn. And to be honest, the crane can move, so if you're not entirely satisfied with where your base location is, you can always just turn the crane on, move it to where you want, and use that as a reference point. So now we need to bleed a lot of speed. And the reason I want it more in the center of the crater is I don't really want to build on this little dimple here. I mean, it would be pretty cool. It would be like Old Sarum, which is a Iron Age hill fort that was the original Salisbury in England before they ran out of water. Now, let's see. I am definitely overshooting my LZ because my LZ was right here and I've just blown by it. But that's no big deal. Sky cranes, especially this overpowered one, are good at putting us back to where we need to be. So as long as we got our surface indicator on, we can accurately adjust for any oversight that we may have had. And my real question is, yeah, we overshot the center of the crater pretty hard. So what I'm going to do is... Oh no. Oh crap. Decouple. There we go. Yeah, that was my bad. I staged that wrong. Now, one thing that you may want to do is you may want to have RCS on your... Alright, let's see here. I want to be moving up so that I'm not going to hit the ground. So let's go ahead and move west a bit. And then let's head over to the south a bit. Now the reason you're going to want RCS is, for whatever reason, the unmanned modules do not like to just rotate on their own. So what we're going to do is, if that's there, I'm going to guess that we're going to need to point to heading about 4-5. And here we go. Let's see that. Yep, okay. I like that as our landing zone, so let's kill all of our horizontal velocity, so that we are going to be coming down pretty much right there. Excellent. Now, we still have plenty of fuel left in our house-looking sky crane. So now we're just going to come down nice and easy. Lock onto that, and here we go. Speeding up time just ever so slightly. There we go. Now be careful when you speed up time. It is very possible to overshoot and just run into the ground. But I'm going to go ahead and start the burn now, so that when I reach the ground, it'll be much like all of those rover landings that I'm really hoping that you practiced right before jumping into this. As this is the same basic idea as the rover sky cranes, just a lot bigger and a lot more powerful. Now, it's probably way overpowered for this little crane rover right here, but at the same time, it helps to not have to design new things for each new purpose. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to free fall for a little bit, using the thrusters every now and again to stop me, or at least slow down my descent. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this thing off when we get a little closer to the ground. Alright, how we doing? The other reason I like landing in the daylight, and I have landed at night before, I like landing in the daylight because I like being able to see my shadow and how I'm coming in. Which I have not seen my shadow yet, but I feel like I'm getting pretty darn close to the surface. So we're going to slow down a lot, and we're going to ease off the throttle a lot. Okay, yep. I definitely did that wrong. Okay. Now, let's see. Oh, there we are. So we're going to do this. And release. There we go. And this guy is just going to fly off, and we can follow it. And as long as it doesn't hit our any of our base parts, we're fine. So that's generally why I sort of try to tilt these off into some other direction, because especially with this landing, we have quite a bit of fuel. So I'm going to save ourselves some time because that thing is going to be going for a while. Go to the tracking station, go to the crane stationed on the Mun, and boom, there we go. We have a crane, like we saw on Kerbal, stationed on the Mun. Now, I would like to go... let me see here. I would like to go south, actually. Okay, so let's see. That, I think, indicates that we are heading south. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Heading south, heading south, heading south, heading south. You know what? That's probably good enough. I don't really want to overextend this rover. And yeah, sure, that's a interesting looking area. Where's the planet? There it is. Now, when you leave your rovers and probes, always put the parking brake on. Now, I'm going to go back to the Space Center, and let's see, this episode's getting kind of long. Alright, I'm going to launch one Mesa hub. Sorry, I had something in my throat. I'm going to launch one Mesa hub, do a cluster drop on it, and I'll call that episode, and then in the following weeks, there we are, in the following weeks I'm going to build more of it. And as long as your parts all fit together on Kerbin, it's going to be easier to do it in lower gravity, as the magnetic force has less gravitational force to fight against. So I'm going to shut up, I'm going to cluster drop this thing, then I will check in at the end, and episode, I suppose, 13 will be actually building this thing on the Mun. Alright, sorry about that little delay. Somebody had texted me, so let me just go ahead and switch here, throttle down my ship, turn off the RCS, switch back to here. Alright, now I managed to land it too far away from the crane, but that's fine. Let's see where it wound up. Alright, yeah, that looks like a better spot for the base. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take this and go over here. And that's considered to be pretty good for a cluster drop, especially because I dropped the thing without the wheels, and I landed it less than a kilometer away. So that's pretty good. Now right now I'm chewing through electricity pretty quickly. Yeah, I am going to have just enough to make it over there and then let this thing recharge. And the other thing that you want to do is you never ever want to park your crane underneath the station or in some sort of garage unless you have some way of charging it. And this is mostly due to the fact that If you run out of power with your crane, that means you're going to need to send another one up. And while that's not too terribly difficult, it is annoying if, say, you're almost done with a base and you have to stop because your crane ran out of juice and you can't put more electricity into it. But that's step one. And I'll talk about step two in the next episode, although I highly recommend that you experiment before then, because I am currently in exam week here, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to post my next video. So this has been That One Guy. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.